and welcome back to another episode of the CrossFit Harrow podcast. Today we've got Puneet. Puneet, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
First question, as always, goes out is what made you come to CrossFit Harrow? Why CrossFit Harrow?
Well, I've been doing CrossFit for a few years.
Okay.
And I started when I was in Canada. When I first moved to London, I remember doing Google Map searches for CrossFit gyms. And just so happened that I decided I wanted to live in Northwest London. So I decided to come in here, give it a try, immediately felt at home, and
Nice.
Stayed. Yeah.
Cool. So you were in Canada, and
Yeah.
then what were you doing in Canada?
I originally went to college there. I went for my university. I got my first job there as well, so I stayed there for a few years. Lived in Montreal for a few years, and then Toronto for about 7 years. So yeah, spent a significant amount of time there.
Is there a big difference between those two places?
You mean the cities?
Yeah.
Yes, because Montreal is in the French province of Quebec. Toronto is in the English province of Ontario, so English speaking rather. So yeah, there are some slight cultural differences, although both are quite friendly to English speakers. Yeah, it was actually quite easy to. In fact, the university I went to in Montreal was an English university.
It's amazing speaking to people on these podcasts because I learn so much about geography.
Yeah.
So you went to college
Yep.
in Canada. Is that college straight after school, or is that the equivalent of university? Because
Yeah, it's university. Yeah.
Oh, fine.
So I did my bachelor's degree there.
Fine. What did you do that in?
Electrical engineering.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Why? Two questions. Why do that in Canada, and why did you choose that?
It just worked out. Well, I went to an international school actually, and was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And one of the options, I felt I was good at math and physics, so I figured that's something I'd want to do. And it just sort of worked out. And then, like, amongst all the college options that I had a choice in Singapore. I had a couple of schools in the States, and then I had this one in Canada of the schools I got into. So I decided to go to this one, and yeah, just.
Wow, so you had quite a few options.
Yeah, I had a few options, and
is that because of your studies that you and your results and stuff that you're able to have those options?
Yeah, I guess you can say that. I was a good student.
In the most modest way.
Yeah.
And then before life in because I want to get into Canada a little bit more. Before life in Canada, where was life before that?
I was born and raised in Bombay.
Okay.
So my parents still live there. My brother, sister-in-law, grandmother is still there.
Fine.
So I visit them every now and then, and that's still, I think of it as home.
Yeah. And what was life growing up in Bombay? Like, what age did you move? Was it like the 18 mark?
So yeah, it was just that. Like, I went to an international school, decided I wanted to go study abroad, and I had, honestly, when I first left, I thought I was probably just going to go for the 4 years and then come back, but that's not how it worked out. I just ended up staying on for longer, and decided to work, and I still haven't made my way back to Bombay. So
because you picked up a little bit of a twang,
the accent,
yeah, a bit of a Canadian American accent.
Yeah.
And sports-wise in Bombay, when you were growing up, were you heavily involved in sports?
Not really. I was a very chubby kid.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so I was never really very athletic or anything during school or while growing up at all. Like, not involved. Yeah.
So what was the turning point? At what point did you think, right, I'm gonna get into sport a little bit more? Was it team sports? Was CrossFit your first?
So I think it started in my third year of university.
Okay.
One summer I was in Montreal and just decided to go give some group classes at the YMCA a try. They had boot camp that they used to organize in small groups, and it wasn't just done indoors. Like, they used to take us out as a group. So Montreal has got this hill in the middle of the city, so we used to actually go running up the hill and stuff.
Wow.
And do drills along the way. So that was actually the first time that I got into it.
Fitness is quite big there, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of gyms and like
Yeah.
the outdoor kind of lifestyle.
Quite, yeah.
What's the? I've never been and maybe a little bit ignorant to it, but what's the like climate weather-wise in Montreal?
So Montreal, about 5 months of the year, it's nice and sunny. It can get pretty warm as well. Winter, it's pretty cold. It can be as low as -20 in the winter.
Wow.
So
Did you experience that?
Yeah. I got used to it. Lived there for some time, so
Because I would imagine that's a massive change in climate
Yes.
from Bombay to.
yeah, it was. Yeah.
Talk us through your your first experience of that, like -20. Like, was it? Did it come straight away, or was it like going?
In a few months, yeah. So that was. So I moved in the fall. So September is when I moved to college, and that's when it gradually started getting a little cooler. Just one fine day I experienced my first snow, and that
Because you'd not seen snow up
no,
until
I
that
hadn't
point?
seen snow. Yeah, and so that was also quite new, and then just got used to it. Then it was like I Jan, Feb were the months when it was the coldest. Generally, March is when it starts to thaw a little bit. Just got used to it. I made sure I had like enough layers and stuff.
But life goes on there. It doesn't
Yeah.
like stop like here when it snows and stuff.
It's
just-
quite everything's going. The subway system,
Roads are
public
clear.
transport, roads are quite periodically cleaned. Even the sidewalks, they have shovels like to take the snow out and stuff. The city just ends up like salting the roads and quite
Wow.
periodically. So.
Yeah, they adapt pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Here is a little bit more slower.
Yes.
You've obviously been in England when it snowed and stuff, right?
I've only been here 2 years, and it snowed once in the 2 years I've been here.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I haven't seen much of it.
So when making that decision to be like, right, I'm going to leave Bombay and go abroad, what was it about Canada? Because obviously you said there was Singapore and there was the States. What was it that kind of pushed you over the edge? And why did you feel like you wanted to go abroad? Was it like an opportunity thing?
It was just an opportunity thing, yeah. I don't know if I gave it much thought at the time, to be honest. It was just 18.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It was just like, there was a few options I had, and
No major responsibilities.
just made it was a leap of faith, really. I didn't know what to expect, and it just worked out. That's just how it was.
So through your third year, that's when you got into sports.
Yep.
And then at what point did you get introduced to CrossFit? Was that after university?
Yeah, after university, about a couple of years out, actually. So I got introduced to sport in about the third year. I was just going to the gym. I still didn't know enough about lifting so I hired a personal trainer, went through some sessions with them, which was quite helpful at the time because I didn't know anything about how to squat and so on. So and then I just got curious about CrossFit. I used to hear about it and
because it is pretty big in the in Canada.
It's quite big there too. Just decided to give it a try. I had some preconceived notions about it. Like I was a bit intimidated, to be honest.
A lot of people do feel that way. Yeah.
I remember writing an email to one of the boxes in my neighborhood saying, one was I was just afraid it's like a cult or something. Everyone's like really muscular. It's very intimidating. Everyone's on like a paleo diet and stuff.
That was massive a few years ago.
Yeah. So they used to sort of like complement each other, and I was raised vegetarian. So I used to wonder, is that going to make a difference? Or, so I actually remember writing to one of the coaches, who was very kind, responded back saying, no, we have all sorts of people coming in. The thing that really blew me away, I think, was that as soon as I walked in, like these notions I had about, there must be like people who are much stronger than me, and everyone's the same, but it really wasn't like that. In fact, they catered to all levels of fitness, and that was, and the coaches were also quite invested in you, and like in terms of, I guess it varies from gym to gym, but at least I got lucky that the one I went to was quite invested in that. And I also really love the community aspect, which isn't there in a regular gym. Like you generally tend to just like go and like wear like your headsets and like you're in the zone, you don't want to talk to anyone. And that was another thing that I really, really liked about it. And the fact that even if like I might be the last one finishing, there'd be someone cheering me on to get me over the line.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
when you see that in the flesh as well, like people listening or watching this, but when you actually are in that position, it is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's actually like, and it does give you a little bit of a kick that you know someone's watching you, and like cheering you on as you're trying to get it over the line while struggling with it. Yeah. And that was and that's how I got into it, and then I just stayed.
Amazing.
I couldn't go back to a regular gym after, which I did try and failed at.
Oh, did you? Yeah, you tried.
Yeah. So it just so happened that work got a bit stressful, and I made the mistake of wanting to cancel my membership about 2 years into it. And then, I tried to go to a gym. I even went to a slightly fancier gym, thinking that
like a
maybe,
boutique kind of stuff.
Yeah, like one like a spa kind of gym or something with good facilities and everything, which I thought might motivate me to go in. But still, I just couldn't sustain it. And I got used to having someone plan my workouts for me, and that is something that just
gave you one less thing to think about.
Yeah, exactly. And it really just I just couldn't go back to doing it myself.
That's very interesting that you actually you felt the contrast. Like you were there in Canada at a CrossFit gym, it didn't work out in terms of like work schedule, and then tried to go to like boutique or gym, and then felt the big difference. Yeah. And then went back. That's interesting, because I think sometimes people do have these thoughts about what CrossFit might be, and maybe scared to take that plunge. But generally, once they get that taste of what it is, they don't tend to go back. And if they do, at some point, they do come back.
Yeah.
But that's fascinating. Talk us through a little bit more. Do you remember your first experience of like workout, kind of like walking through those doors?
Yeah. So, I didn't know much about Olympic lifting in general, and initially I struggled a bit with the movements and movement standards. Things like snatches didn't just come overnight. So, having an on-ramp for that really, really helped. But even then, it took me some time to get comfortable with it. Even the gymnastic movements, I was terrible at it. I couldn't skip a rope before.
But that doesn't surprise me, because a lot of adults don't practice that skill from their childhood. They forget.
Yeah. And it just wasn't something that we did. And at least I don't remember ever doing it as a kid. So that's why I struggled.
Some kids don't. That's true. That's
true. I just never got into it. And I don't remember being able to do a pull-up or toes to bar. It was all really, really foreign.
Which a lot of these movements now that you're very competent with. It's taken practice.
But it's taken the consistently showing up and trying to push myself a little bit with them and practice them and so on.
Yeah. So do you remember your first workout?
No, it's probably been a really long time. But I remember feeling a little nervous. It's just I just got into it. And because I'd done a bit of boot camp before, so I sort of knew about like the high intensity training sort of thing was something I was accustomed to. So I wasn't afraid of it. I think probably there've been a few times when I've met Pukey.
Oh
in a workout, and it's partly, and more often than not, it's just been my fault, like where I either forget to breathe in the workout, or I don't eat enough, or something of the sort.
Wow.
And that ends up, I think I've just managed to regulate that with time. Like just remember to keep breathing, through it. Like even when you're in it, you should be okay. And it rarely happens, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you that don't know, meeting Pukey is a symbol within CrossFit of like either going too hard or like it's throwing up essentially, or like doing too much.
Yeah.
But some people think that's the right way. Like every workout has to be like that.
Okay.
Which is not correct. It's not the right way to do it. So if you was wondering what Meet Pukey was, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So that I'm glad that doesn't happen often.
Yeah, not anymore, and but I still feel like I'm challenging myself with that.
Yeah.
Doing okay.
What would you say to someone who had the same thoughts as you, starting CrossFit? What would you say to someone if you could have that conversation with them now, knowing what you know in terms of getting started?
I would say, don't be afraid. It's probably going to be the best decision you take for your fitness. For me, I believe it's for everyone. It's accessible to everyone, and you will get better at all the various facets of fitness through CrossFit. It's not just about strength. It's about the other aspects of it as well. So.
Okay, and then so you were out in Canada, and then what made you move to the UK?
Oh, it was
Because you said
couple of
over 2
reasons.
years.
It was a couple of reasons. One was wanted a shorter flight back to Bombay, so that was one.
What are the flight times? Like, duration?
From Toronto, there used to be a direct flight, which I'm not sure if it's still running, but it was about 15 hours.
Okay.
To get there, and now from London I can easily get a direct, which will get me there in 9 hours.
Okay. Which on a plane is a huge difference.
Yeah. So
6 hours, long time.
Yeah, and I also feel the difference, like in terms of talking to my family and stuff.
What are the time zones?
So it's either 9.5 or 10.5 hours behind. If so, Bombay versus Toronto. Versus now it's 4.5 or 5.5.
Okay. So you get more. Do you get more contact time with them?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So in that respect, it just worked out well, and it was. That was one, and then I just wanted to. I think I'd reached a point where like I'd spent about 12 years in Canada, and I just wanted to.
Outlived it.
Yeah, just like get out and try it again, or try something new again. So yeah, that was it. Like I just decided to start looking outside. Many of my friends from college ended up taking up jobs in the States.
Okay.
Instead, I was probably the only one who decided to go further east, and just try this instead. So.
Wow. So almost left everyone.
Yes. Yeah. I practically uprooted myself. So yeah, it was, and that was also quite an experience. It's not the same when you're doing it like at the age of 18 versus at the age of 30. It's quite different. It just feels a lot harder and stuff like to get it done. But yeah. So
when you came to London, did you reside straight away around Harrow way?
Well, I live in Wembley, so close enough.
Yeah.
And it was I didn't know enough about neighborhoods in London or like where to live and stuff. I just wanted a decent commute to work, which was in the city.
Did you arrange work before you
Yes.
you?
Yeah. So I actually took a transfer with the company that I'm currently with. They sponsored my transfer and everything, and they were willing to have me here. So that's how it worked. So it just worked out well to be able to make that move. I already had like work and everything lined up. I just had to worry about accommodation really.
Yeah.
Part of my house search was based on finding a CrossFit gym because I wanted to.
A lot of people do that actually. When they move out, like we've often had people in the past, and still to this day say like, I'm moving house, but I'm trying to stay as close to here as possible, or I'm basing my house location on access to a CrossFit gym.
A CrossFit gym.
Which says a lot like about what CrossFit does to people.
Yeah, that's true. Like I just feel like that, I think it's the community aspect and just being able to come back, know people on a first name basis, have them know you on a first name basis. It's just very different. Like I find from going to a regular gym where you probably may or may not start a conversation with someone.
Yeah, you kind of just give the nod and smile. Talk us through like what work. So an IT consultant, what does an IT consultant do?
So I implement software for largely financial services companies at the moment. I've been doing that for about 5 or so years now. I think actually almost 6 years now. Yeah. So at the moment I'm working on loan origination systems for banks as an example. We just work with the client stakeholders, get the requirements, and then try to solution it and build it on the platform. And then
so does this involve coding and stuff like that?
Yes, I write code as well.
That's so hard.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So I think I was lucky that like in engineering everyone goes through at least one semester of a programming class. So some of the skills that I learned there is what I'm applying now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that was, I think because I took it up at that time, it just worked out that I was able to transfer that into like using it for a platform.
I'm assuming there are platforms that programmers use that like it's almost like a blank screen, and then behind that blank screen is you writing the code for it to pop up on that screen.
Yeah, well, this was that's true. Like this
is that how it works?
Well, not this one. Like this one's actually like I'm coding at a level where most of the application is already built out. You're configuring parts of it and then customizing some of it, which requires low code. So it
blows my mind. I find it so fascinating.
Yeah, and now it's become so accessible. I find that there's so many platforms to pick up code, and you don't always have to start from scratch. There's frameworks for doing things now.
Yeah, a lot of them are pre-built. You just like a lot of them are drag. Like you can remove the code and just do the drag and drop.
You can also do like drag and drop stuff. Like like having it all abstracted to that level is what's made it so accessible. Like
because they're teaching code to younger students now. I think especially around here, there's a few like resource or learning centers that do coding for like 6 to 12-year-olds.
Yeah, they put, I think it's being pushed everywhere, like as well. Like I remember learning a little bit of code even when I was in school. Around that age. We even had electives for coding at the age of like 14 and 15.
I don't know what happened at my school. I know none of this stuff.
No codes. What were the electives?
I can't really say what I done in school because I'm not sure how much attention I paid in school. But no, definitely no coding. There wasn't. I don't remember in an IT class doing coding. I can't remember what I'd done in an IT class apart from mess around. But no, I think it is quite, especially like now, the day and age that we're going, everything has moved online. Everything is pretty much online. So technically, you would be able to build something completely from scratch.
I guess, but on a specific platform. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. So does this, where you say implementing these softwares into the financial institutions, they will have like programs that they work off or systems.
Yep.
And it's just editing.
Yeah, so they have a cloud-based application. We go in and we customize it for them based on what their requirements are. Sometimes it's greenfield, so they're starting from scratch. They're just
Is that what it's called, greenfield?
Yeah.
When it's blank canvas?
Yeah. Or they already have a system in place and then you're installing a new package on top of it.
So would that be like customer name, like those things behind it, like those pop-ups come up, search for that person, all that stuff?
So I do CRM systems primarily. So customer relationships is one of the, it's more or less my bread and butter. So it's just right now it's a niche where I'm doing it for banks.
And I guess these are like all across the what you do would be generally all across the world, right?
Yeah. That's true.
It wouldn't just be restricted to England.
That's true. Yeah, it's that's part of the reason why I was able to move. Like, because I was doing something very similar when I was in Toronto. I was implementing CRM for capital markets at that time. It's just
because I know tech's definitely massive in what's the part of California that it's massive?
Silicon Valley.
Yeah, Silicon Valley. But also Canada's quite big for tech, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, Toronto, in fact, has got a very big tech scene now, and it's growing everywhere. Like Waterloo is there too. That's where Blackberries came from.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So yeah, like I don't know how
was
big they
massive.
are anymore. Yeah, but like 10 years ago it was so big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the whole BB thing,
Yeah.
and that was huge.
Yeah.
I think that pretty much got replaced by
Apple.
Apple, and then WhatsApp came into
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And it's essentially the same.
Yeah.
Well, because they originally BlackBerry started the blue ticks.
Yes.
That was when you could see when a message was read, and now like how everyone's changed their mindset to like they've read my message. Oh my god! Where before it's like you sent a text, and if it got there, it got there, and if it didn't, you just checked your phone and see if there was a reply. It's quite. You've probably seen quite a lot of changes and progressions from a lot of these companies and stuff.
Yeah.
Over the last few years. How was, I suppose, workload for you over the last 18 months was pretty rough, right?
It has been rough at times, but manageable for most of it.
Yeah.
I guess like the biggest shift was working from home for big parts of it. Just getting used to that was something else. Just getting in that routine and and managing your stakeholders, both internal and as well as client.
Because a lot of those decisions, it would be better to obviously have in person, but
I
you
would
get to
prefer
see
to,
body language, things like that.
Yeah. So I'm one of those people who tends to put his camera on, and at least when I'm doing meetings and stuff, because I want people to know what I'm how I'm reacting.
I don't get the whole camera off thing.
Yeah, because how different is it from?
You're going to be in the same.
Yeah,
you would have been in the
exactly.
same room.
If you were in the same room, like you would probably you'd be exactly.
So work was manageable. Didn't go too much, but I guess you probably missed the journey to work, the interactions with people.
Yeah,
where would be the office?
So it would be in the city. So yeah, it's around Bank Station in that area. Yeah.
Fine. So it saved you on the commute, but
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, like I guess I liked being able to sleep in a bit. I mean, I appreciate that part of it, but at the same time, I find that there were days when my workday really, really stretched out because I was working from home.
Yeah, you don't really go like I'm done.
There's no switching off when you're at home.
Yeah, and with the whole working from home and stuff, did you find that you had set yourself routines? Did you find that like you were just taking every day as it come? Has it been hard working from home?
It took some getting used to be honest. Like there was a point when I was like, I'll get out of bed, sit at my desk in my pajamas or something, and take showers
you're not the only
noon.
one.
Yeah, or something of the sort. But I think that there were times when like just having the discipline, making sure that you wear like some. Not your pajamas.
Yeah. Don't be doing that.
Yeah.
Be just from the head up. Screaming the head up. And fitness over that time, because there's a few Zooms that you've done too, kept that going, and obviously when we were able to go outside and stuff. So it's been pretty much a big part of the last two. Well, it's always been since that third year in uni, but it's been quite a big part of the last 2 years for you, right?
That's true. Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, it's been. In fact, I'd say that through last year, I think I became more regular, more committed to CrossFit than I was. I think before lockdown, like I think I was probably coming in, like I was still probably averaging 2 or 3 days a week, but as a result of lockdown and being close to the gym, it was almost a no-brainer, at least when it was open to be able to come in. And now I'm able to average, I try to make it at least 3 days a week, but generally averaging about 4, I'd say.
Which is a good amount of time to be exercising.
To exercise and then also recover and do it sustainably.
Yeah, it gives you a good balance of like work life as well and social life, because a lot of people do invest all their time into it, which is, some people would argue, is a very good thing, but actually it can be quite a negative thing in that sense. So that's good. What are your plans in terms of what does fitness look like for you in the next few months or few years?
I think it's always going to be a journey. Like there'll never be like I have arrived moment in it.
So I'm so glad that you say that, because I don't think a lot of people understand that when they get into fitness. And that's through, you've discovered that by yourself, right? Yeah. It's very interesting to hear people's view and stuff like that. There isn't, and we've tried to often send out that message through these podcasts and through the podcasts that we've done before we've done these ones, that there isn't so much a destination. You don't get to that point and be like, I'm done. Yeah. Fitness is complete. And it is that journey. Although someone could argue that there's set goals that you could say, right, I'm done. But then you just rearrange and there's always a new goal.
For me, at least, like something I'm working towards is getting to the men's RX weights. Okay. For sure. That's something that I try to work towards, like in the workouts that I'm coming for, especially with the dumbbells, like trying to get to like the 22.5 kilos, like at least when we have that as the RX weight. Yeah. And doing as much of the workout as close to RX as possible. And I have done a few workouts RX, I guess.
I guess it's a good feeling, right? It's like it's done as it is on the board.
And it's nice that when you're like logging it, that you actually like score RX. There's something very tangible about it that I like. And even with doing it RX, well, assuming you finish within the time cap, then there still may not be an I have arrived, because there is a chance that like as you get very good at it, that you would probably shave off 1 or 2 minutes off your time. And that might, so I probably also want to work towards that, like where like your intensity is also picking up, like as you get better at it.
Yeah. Okay. So fitness wise is a case of working towards that. And in terms of like work and where you're going to take that, or where you want to take that, what's in plans for you? What does the next few years look like for you?
Oh, well, I hoping to stay in at least the same industry and the application that I'm in, but progressing towards more responsibility in that space. Working instead from day-to-day development to playing more of an enterprise architect role, where you look at not just one system, but multiple, all the applications involved, and be able to architect solutions for the entire business. Wow. So that is something that I'd want to do.
How do you get there?
Well, it's a few things. I think probably one is like you have to keep learning new technologies.
It's always evolving, right?
But also I think at that level, sometimes you need to be able to make relationships with stakeholders, senior stakeholders, and be able to present your value proposition and get them to buy into that.
Because there'd be quite a lot of money going into those tech applications.
Maintenance is one of the biggest costs for most softwares.
Is that because of the support that's required to keep that?
Subscription fees plus support. So the people you would be hiring to potentially maintain that application. So that's and it just ends up being a very big program, like especially
here's the thing.
Bigger. Yeah.
Do people build? I'm sure they do. Do they build knowing that how do I word it, that manageable errors would pop up so that support system runs for longer?
I'm not sure. That's a tough one.
Because there's always updates and things to do.
That's true. I wanted to have it work and rather than drip feeding a solution. But I just find that the way you do something today might be completely different a few years from now. And also businesses are evolving so quickly. They reorganize really fast now. Like you could have a job title today that's A, and then your department is going to be renamed and like merged with another one. Then you have to get your system to work with that new department and that new process.
The reason I ask that is because through obviously the whole COVID thing and working more on tech side is just and working with different softwares and programs and just seeing that was some of them not crashed, that's not the right word. Some of them are more problematic than others.
Yeah, that's true.
But then you're right, they have to integrate with other systems and that can cause coding issues, right?
Yep. It can. Yeah, integration issues. There can be runtime issues. All sorts. Yeah, the screen doesn't load or like crashes. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, just curious. I mean, hopefully no one does it on purpose.
On purpose.
But then they say that about cars, right? They say that
Yeah.
they don't build cars as they used to. They build cars that now that you have, after a couple of years, they're 2-3 years, that they're taken back to the garage because the service cost and everything else goes back into that company, and they keep you there.
Yeah.
Whilst you could buy a car in, I don't know, the 60s or 70s, and you would generally have that car as long as it was serviced regularly for life and wouldn't have to be going.
Yeah, I guess there's more of a shelf life, and they want to force you to keep buying new.
Yeah, that's the word I'm looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that it does apply to some extent to software as well. Companies keep evolving, especially all the companies involved in building products in IT.
Are you a Apple man or an Android man?
Android. I can't use an Apple phone.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
this is embarrassing to admit, but yeah, like if someone tells me, "Excuse me, can you take a picture?" Like I wouldn't know what to do with an Apple phone.
Have you always? Why Android?
Yeah. I was always a Droid person. I'd used Blackberries before, and then just got into Droid, and I just had that phone for some time.
I'm the reverse. I can't use.
Yeah,
Android.
it's the
I find
same.
Android
Like
so hard.
it's people are so loyal to one versus the other because like you just got accustomed to it. I don't even know if I'd be able to switch now. Like if I wanted to. Like
there's
I'm just
absolutely no way.
so comfortable. Like with, I know what to do. I'd be far more comfortable with using my Android.
We got an Android tablet here to use as like a base to communication stuff.
Yeah.
And it takes me a good 10 minutes to just write out one like email or message.
Wow.
Like, I just use my laptop. My laptop it's a MacBook. I just use that. It's just so much easier.
I'd rather do
Functionality for me, it just works so much better.
Yeah, I don't even have a MacBook. From work also, I just use a Windows.
Really?
Yeah, I can't use. I just don't see myself using.
That's
Apple.
interesting.
Yeah.
They're built very differently, aren't they?
Yeah.
They are built like this operating systems and.
Yeah. I'm not sure about how different they are internally, the architecture and stuff, but the UI is certainly, like, the user interface is quite different.
But Windows used to be I don't know who's on top, but Windows used to be like the ultimate operating system. It's the whole, Bill Gates versus Steve Jobs, is that right?
Yeah. Late Steve Jobs,
Yeah. Some people argue one's better than the other, but
yeah. For me, I guess,
Windows.
you could argue it either way. A lot of creative people like Apple, a lot
like
more.
graphic design kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But see, even I remember using systems like 95, Windows 95, and Windows 98. I don't think I used, maybe 2000. Was there Windows 2000?
Yes, there was one.
And after that, I don't remember using Windows, and I think switched over to Mac. But there was never really anything on Windows that those who had that skill could use. I think there was an application called, but I think it's more in the building and like CAD design. Does that?
Yes, yeah. That's.
Is that on Windows?
Yeah, I'd imagine they would have a. I'm not sure if they have a Mac version of it, but yeah.
I don't remember anything like that being available on Windows, especially like the early to late 90s.
Oh, okay.
And that's why I think people went over, those creative went over to Apple.
Yeah.
Because Apple have
I'd
that.
imagine,
Those
yeah,
programs.
even the iPad was so good for like creative people. When they launched it, it was just the user interface was so friendly. I also think a lot of programmers like Mac, and I'd say probably the more serious ones like it.
There's I've actually seen I think it's only available to those who at that level. You can buy a desktop version of a MacBook.
Yeah.
That costs like £6,500. Like it has like 15 operating systems in it or whatever. I don't know, something ridiculous like that. And it's so powerful.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand what it does.
Yeah, it would be way too much for someone like. Yeah, like it's just not suitable for everyday use.
But it wouldn't be running to run emails. It would be to run those programs and softwares we talked about at the beginning, right?
They're probably hacking people or something.
Possibly.
Self-care. Yeah, it would be good for that, I'd imagine. Yeah, if they have that much power.
Yeah. Okay, so career-wise is to try and take that next step. Is there anything else that your personal achievements and goals that you want out of the next 6 to 12 months?
I guess being consistent.
In both work and life.
Yeah.
Training.
I think, trying not to go to extremes on either side and just finding a good balance and like being able to sustain it.
Yeah.
I'd say.
And are you okay with how do you deal with, let's say a week goes by that work is overloaded and training is suffering? Like, how do you deal with that?
I need to remind myself sometimes this too shall pass, but I argue to myself that it's almost the same way that like you have a scheduled meeting at work, that you show up, you think about CrossFit the same way, where you just block out that time and do it, and to be honest, I rarely work weekends, so I have no excuse not to come here.
On a Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, so if it really was that like I was having a very tough week, I'd just try to compensate for that by just showing up on Saturday and Sunday instead.
Because I have seen there are times where you're in first thing 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And there are others where you're in a little bit later in the evening. Where do you feel that you get the most out of your training? What time? Are you a morning person in that sense?
I think I'm a morning person. So I certainly get a lot more, but sometimes I like coming in the evenings because I'd be less tired during the day if I did that. But equally, if I just wake up early and if I've trained before 90% of the population has done any exercise, that in itself makes me feel like I've done something, and I feel good about it, like throughout the day and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And the last thing I want to ask you about nutrition-wise, like over these, going from Bombay to Canada to London, like food has changed quite a lot, right? Has food or nutrition always been a big part of your life, or you just at that present moment you're just enjoying it as you go?
I think it became part of it as fitness became a bigger part of my life. I didn't understand very much about food or nutrition, at least when I was in Bombay. I didn't think about it that much.
Is it very curry oriented?
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of curry, there's vegetables. It was very I guess you can say carbs are a big part of the meal. But I think as I got into as I got into fitness, I thought a little bit more about or learned more about fitness really, and like nutrition and like how it complements it. So just thinking about not just the macros, like like proteins, fats, carbs, but also like the micronutrients that are going in. Am I eating enough fruit and vegetable in a day or not? How much am I drinking?
Do you still apply these now? You still?
Yeah, so I still think about them quite a bit. I'd say I'm not militant about it or anything. What I try to do is, at least the best I can, is just try to eat healthy during the weekdays, but not go nuts over the weekend or something.
What would that look like? What would to you?
What would going nuts look like? Well, binge eating, like eating a whole pizza, or all you can eat sushi. Sushi's not so bad, to be honest.
You can definitely overload it, but then again, it can also be a lot of...
it's also like with all you can eat sushi, you're probably having like a few fried things and stuff as well with it. But just overindulging in those things, eating a whole bag of chips and like chocolate.
When you say chips, you mean crisps?
Yes, crisps.
So I noticed there's a lot of terminology that you relate back to.
I still haven't picked it up, I'm afraid.
That's all right. It's good. It challenges my knowledge too. Yeah. You said earlier, sidewalk, and I was like, straight all this.
The pavement. Yes.
But you're used. That's fine. It's interesting to hear the different names for the same thing. Puneet, we've run out of time for today, but thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
And guys, we'll see you again next week.